The blunt truth about our current American president is that he is pro-war crimes, and he has been consistent on this point. He ran for office on a pro-war crimes platform. He called to reinstate torture.
Would I approve waterboarding? You bet your ass I'd approve it. You bet your ass. In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And I would approve more than that.
As a candidate, he called for the murder of terrorists' families.
With the terrorists, you have to take out their families. When you get these terrorists, you have to take out their families. They care about their lives. Don't kid yourself. But they say they don't care about their lives. You have to take out their families.
On the campaign trail and later, even as president, he relayed a false but wildly inflammatory story of an American general dripping bullets in pig's blood and then murdering 49 captured Muslim fighters.
He took 50 bullets and he dipped them in pig's blood. And he had his men load his rifles and he lined up the 50 people and they shot 49 of those people. And the 50th person, he said, you go back to your people and you tell them what happened.
That's not true, by the way. That is a myth. But he liked the story so much, he kept telling it. He's repeatedly said that we should, quote, take the oil in Iraq and other places, which would also be a war crime.
Now, I've said this for years. I might have said this the last time I was here, years ago. Take the oil. Take the oil. Keep the oil. You know, in the old days, to the victor belong the spoils.
Okay, so that's him as a candidate. But here's the thing. Since becoming president, Donald Trump has continued to push a pro-war crimes agenda. He has issued pardons in war crime cases. Former Army First Lieutenant Michael Behenna, convicted by a military court in 2009 for killing an Iraqi man in U.S. custody. Green Beret Major Matthew Goldstein, charged with murdering a suspected Afghan bomb maker. Former Army First Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, who had been serving a 19-year sentence for ordering the murder of 2 unarmed civilians. Donald Trump also, against the wishes of top military leaders, intervened and restored the rank of Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher, who was acquitted of murder charges but convicted of a lesser charge of posing for a picture with a corpse. And that intervention by the president resulted in the very public resignation of the Secretary of the Navy. The president is now reportedly considering pardoning a contractor convicted of murder during the Iraq War, a Blackwater security guard named Nicholas Slatton. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison for his role in the 2007 massacre in Baghdad. And then this weekend, President Trump openly threatened more war crimes, tweeting about possibly striking Iranian cultural sites, which is against international law under the 1954 Hague Convention and several other international treaties. And his own defense secretary, Mark Esper, indicated he would not be allowed under the laws of armed conflict. That was today, although it was begrudging. In classic fashion, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tried to gaslight the nation into not believing the plain meaning of what the president had tweeted, only for Trump to then, classically, reiterate his same threats in a Sunday afternoon tweet, suggesting the U.S. might strike back in a, quote, disproportionate manner. This is all an absolute moral abomination. Were the president to carry it out, it would constitute a high crime under the Constitution. Without question, he should be impeached for it. And it's also the image that is being projected around the world. This barbaric vileness from the president has real, tangible effects on what happens next to us and to others. We'll discuss after this.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.